Hi everyone, so we're going to be doing Millie Bobby Brown and Jake Bonjiovi's chart today. I was looking for a couple that was sort of inspiring or new or different that's in the public eye at the moment, and I saw that Millie was engaged at the young age of 20, so and also I saw in their Synastry that her Saturn is conjuncting his Venus and also out of sign his Mars as well. And yeah, Saturn really gives that need to commit, or commit dutifully and formally to someone, especially in a hard aspect as well with the conjunction. Mars also really gives this, Saturn square Mars is definitely a marriage, early commitment kind of aspect. So I wanted to look into that. I wanted to see if there's other things supporting that kind of aspect, the need to commit. The compatibility, for example. So we're going to have a look at that. So the conjunction is one of the strongest aspects, the square being also the hardest, but a conjunction is the strongest. And it usually, you don't get any of that tender, sweet, like appreciation that comes with Saturn over time unless you go through those hard tests together as a couple with these kind of aspects. There will be tests of endurance and also their own Saturnian lessons that they're meant to overcome. Their Saturn returns are going to be very telling what happens with this relationship as well, because they're both quite young. They're still a good 5, 6, 7 years away from their Saturn returns. Another thing going against them with these Saturnian lessons is they've only really been together 3 years or so, from what I read. So also they haven't had that test of endurance that Saturn likes to give as well, the hard limitations and lessons. So that's also going to be meaning that marriage will sort of represent that test, I think, because there's no other real factors coming into it, like age or going through your Saturn return or having loads of restriction. And I guess two people in the public eye brings a lot of responsibility. That could also be adding to it, so they will have to be very mature in that way. So it will depend how they handle these lessons and how they handle the commitment of that as well over time. But yeah, coming back to their Saturn returns, I think that will be the thing that will make or break them, depending on how they've dealt with these lessons in the marriage and also how their Saturn returns will go. So to start off, they do have squaring sun signs, so they see the world very differently. They have very different ways of going about life and what they want to get out of life, how they express themselves. So Millie as a Pisces loves the drama, the adventure, the possibilities, her dreams, and the hope of what's possible in her life and about life, and to escape into the wondrous worlds of her creativity. And then Jake, on the other hand, as a Gemini, is more into understanding the world in a logical way, going about things in a logical way, and also what he can learn from life, and probably really likes to understand the facts of the situation, which may be a little bit of a buzzkill for a Pisces that is very more open and understanding and wondrous kind of way to view the world. In a way, with these differences, they're very complementary as well. The other one can help ground the other in more like hard facts and reality and seeing things like more logical. And then the other one, it adds a bit of spice to life as well. So with squares or oppositions in Synastry with the sun signs, you definitely can learn a lot from the other person. So it depends if there's other nice supportive aspects in the Synastry to make this more compatible, rather than really harshly coming up against someone's just inability to see the way you see things and the frustration that comes with that. It's a very exciting relationship though, because his Uranus on her sun, he brings a lot of newness and excitement and energy to her life. This is probably, yes, very energizing for her, and probably helps her see new perspectives, a new way of doing things that she hasn't previously before. It really helps find her sense of individuality, probably really loves who she is as a person, and she really feels that sense of friendship with him for this reason, and that she can just be herself. With Uranus involved, with the moon or the sun, that Uranus person makes you feel like you can just be the weirdest, craziest person ever and they'll still like you, because that's Uranus. It's very accepting and very non-conventional itself. So that part of him is connecting really well with her, helping her expand herself in any way she feels. Maybe all the possibilities are there for her, she feels like. So we've got some nice aspects with the Venus and the Sun as well. His Sun sextiles her Venus, and his Venus widely trining her Sun. So some mutual agreement there on how to give and receive affection, and just admiring the other person for who they are. Again, just really loving each other for who they are. And this really does help smooth over some difficulties in their synastry. So yeah, Sun, Venus, really nice aspects to have. But then talking about their love languages a little bit more, we do have squared Venuses. So his in Cancer, so a little bit more cozy and subtle with how he expresses his love and affection to her. And hers is in Aries, so she's going to be a little bit more bold and brash with it, a little bit more direct, bit more headstrong and impulsive with how she wants, and instantaneous with how she wants to do things, and he might just want to chill out a little bit more. Another aspect for marriage, before I was talking about Saturn square Mars and synastry, also in your natal chart, but another one is Saturn in hard aspect to Venus as well, the planet of love, the rulership of Venus, Libra, Saturn is exalted in. So this also can give a need to commit early or young in love. And that's what Millie has. She has her natal Venus square Saturn. So she was always meant to have hard lessons in her love life to gain a more solid sense of self-esteem and self-value. And Saturn really wants you to develop the lessons of love through duty and commitment and hardship and isolation and law and rules and morals. This is how Saturn in aspect to Venus can help you learn about love and yourself, because at the end of the day, if you try to get that self-validation, the love that you seek within the marriage itself or externally, it's going to be very, very hard and isolating. And I think that's a possibility for Millie, having this aspect, marrying so young, that it's going to make her feel a bit like a lot of responsibility, really heavy, really like she has to do it all on her own. So she can actually dig a little deeper and find the resilience and the strength and the love within herself. This can play out quite nicely, and she can become quite refined and quite strong and quite loving, but in a very mature way. Or the other possibility is that Saturn, the other lesson being in Aries, is she's going to be really impatient and struggle with the lack of fire that's in her love relationship, because that's also what her Venus wants. Yeah, her Venus wants passion and excitement and love, and he's probably giving that to her in the Uranus conjunct Sun and those aspects, but there needs to be the right amount of passion for her to feel loved. And if she's not feeling loved in that way, especially with squared Venuses, then she can see that as, oh, this relationship isn't, actually this marriage has no love in it. But that's the duty of marriage, is that actually I've committed to this person, regardless of how things evolve. I'll commit to this person, and I'll cater to my own needs. I'll have to rely on myself in that way. Saturn is quite harsh in that way. It really gives you a hard hit from the reality stick that, life is all your responsibility, really. As much as we're social beings and need the support of our community and our loved ones, I think that's the decent balance between it being exalted in Libra and having hard aspects to it, like what Millie has. So I really wanted to talk about this aspect a lot, because I think it's a major player with her being married so young, and the theme of this video. So time will tell how she handles this aspect. It looks like she may have got a bit of tough love from her mum or her family growing up, with her Saturn in Cancer squaring Venus, and she really needs to learn that lesson of standing on her own 2 feet. And also I saw that Pluto in the 4th house of the mother and the home and the upbringing, so it could indicate some really deep emotional attachments there, with the mother, the family as well. We've got some more Saturn aspects between them. His Saturn is sextile her Venus. This is a positive aspect to Saturn, and it is helping him be a little bit more of a stability for her, in the way that, okay, maybe she's not feeling like they've got the same way of loving, but he's there for her, and he will provide for her and care for her in a way that's stable and consistent. A really fun aspect is her Mercury trining his North Node, so her friendship is really helping him become who he's meant to be. So really refining his intellectual skills, his crafts, his abilities, and the way that he's communicating as well. I think he's recently become an actor as well. Only last year did he first come out in something, so maybe she's helping him with that. And he is a Gemini stellium, so these things are very important to him, how he communicates, how he comes across as intelligent and thoughtful and knowledgeable about lots of different things. And yeah, it will define a big part of his personality. There could also be a bit of a need to prove himself maybe since dating her, because he's got his Saturn in Gemini as well. This is also a bit of a fear or sense of lack for him maybe, or a huge life lesson for him is, yeah, refining these skills. And if she's so effortlessly out there on TV presenting, communicating, he's probably really feeling like, oh, a lack of that. Like, I need to do something like that. I do need to provide, and I do need to have similar skills or some skills of my own to be able to, yeah, be that Saturn sort of archetype for her. And I don't think his career in modeling really hit that spot for him with all this communication and need to connect with people. It probably did in a social way, but I think intellectually he probably needed a little bit more, and maybe that's why he's going to acting as well. So this potential wounding of his pride is making me look at this aspect where his Chiron is squaring her Venus and also opposing her Saturn. They both have Chiron in Capricorn, but his is making this aspect a little bit more closely with her planet. So this wound of having criticism and this need to mature early, he may really resonate with and understand the pain of that. And they both also have, it looks like, these wounds of self-criticism, low self-esteem that could play out in their relationships and their friendships. And it could be a little bit of dependency issues coming up for both of them. Now a little bit more of a wider aspect, both of their Plutos are opposite his Mars, so he could get very frustrated and angry when things get a little bit more emotional or chaotic in his view, his very logical, rational mind, especially if he can't reason his way out of something. But they are in a little bit of an agreement with this, with Millie's Mercury and Moon also in Aquarius, making her quite rational as well in that way when it comes to emotions. But for her, the Moon never really thrives in Aquarius. It makes them a really good social people person, always needing to be out with friends and in the community and helping people, and that's how they feel emotionally safe and connected. But at home and in marriages and in committed relationships, it can be a little bit more tricky. Again, it suggests some emotional distance from the mum or the parents. She maybe learned or needed to rationalize everything or overthink everything, or distance herself from some emotional pain, instead of understanding things on a very body intuitive level. So they both, for these reasons, may prefer to just sweep the emotional issues under the rug, which isn't helping them get resolved, obviously, or help them with the overarching theme of their relationship, which is responsibility and facing matters at face value, Saturn. So just a quick look at their composite chart now. They have great friendship. Sun conjunct Mercury always gives great communication, means there is communication there and friendship at the base of this relationship. Communication is well intended, but again, emotions aren't an easy thing to talk about because the Moon is squaring Mercury. It's just showing up that yes, it's going to be really difficult for them to talk through how they're feeling and their emotions. So they really need to overcome this somehow and talk it through, and because it's also it could be a great source of pain in the relationship for them with it conjunct Chiron as well. And just be quite a discomfort for them, and it could even be a reason for a breakup as well when sometimes there's an overwhelming Chiron that can't be resolved and you can't find love and compassion and healing in it. It can feel just painful. There is this theme as well with the relationship with the Sun squaring Chiron in the composite, that a big purpose as well of the relationship is to overcome old wounds and even provoke old egoic wounds as well between them. It can't be based on ego, it has to be based on love and understanding for one another. And it can really make them attracted to each other, especially at the beginning, that they both share a similar pain and understanding of needing to prove themselves, and they both have the Capricorn Chiron, so it's about proving themselves and like becoming more mature really young, but then that overcoming that and taking a responsibility can be really painful, but in a way that's how they can help other people and show other people what it is like to to commit early, to marry early. Maybe they can end up being people that teach about how to do this, you know. Often people do really struggle marrying young, but maybe they're going to be an example for it. This is if they don't project their, again, egoic wounds onto each other or fight for supremacy or anything else that the son wants to do to feel seen and heard. So their pain will really be emphasized with this aspect. It's quite a strong aspect, but it's also for the purpose of healing as well. They've also got a lovely moon trine Venus, so there is no shortage of love. There really is love and affection between them. But the sun and the moon are squared, so there are, again, indicating major differences in just who they are as people and the directions they're going in life. So they'll need to overcome the square, a lot of challenges for this relationship to work. So Millie is represented by the Capricorn moon, so family issues or the need to put work and responsibility and reputation first is very much how she's being represented. And him being represented by the Aries sun, he has this need to be a leader and a provider in the relationship, but that may be overshadowed by her career and that Capricorn moon needing to show her strength as well. They also have a nice sun trine Jupiter though, so there's lots of fun and adventure there as well. Again, more excitement, more fun. What will help push this couple forward with the Mars in conjunct to the North Node in Gemini is just developing that communication. They really need to work on that. And also they're showing of affection for one another, learning each other's love language. The Venus is also conjunct the North Node, trining the Moon. And Uranus there squaring the nodes in the composite can just bring in some complicated or unexpected circumstances, people to come into their lives to shake things up and maybe test them a little bit as well. But these things can also maybe affect their ability to move forward together. So having to learn some Uranian lessons at the same time. So having a good solid foundation of friendship, communication will really help this couple. So lots to overcome, but there you go. There's a Synastry composite. Leave a like or comment and I'll see you soon.